What if you traveled across the world for love, only to realize you never really understood it in the first place? Kitty Song-Covey has always believed she's an expert when it comes to relationships. After watching her sister go through love and heartbreak, she built this idea in her head that she understands how love works. To her, it's simple. You just follow your feelings, trust the process, and everything falls into place. So when she gets the chance to move to Korea and attend the same school as her long-distance boyfriend, Dae, it feels like everything is finally aligning. This isn't just a school opportunity, it's her moment to turn her own love story into something real. She imagines finally seeing him in person. No screens, no distance, just real life. In her head, this is going to be perfect. This is where everything she believes about love finally proves itself. But the moment she arrives, reality hits her instantly. Something feels off. Dae isn't acting the way she expected, and before she can even process what's happening, she sees the truth right in front of her. He's with someone else, not just casually, but in a full relationship with Yuri. In seconds, everything Kitty thought she knew collapses. The excitement turns into confusion, then into heartbreak. She's standing in a completely new country, surrounded by people she doesn't know, trying to understand how everything went wrong so fast. And the worst part is, she doesn't even have time to process it properly because she's now stuck in this environment where she has to face it every single day. As she starts looking deeper into the situation, she realizes things aren't as simple as they first seemed. Dee's relationship isn't built on love, it's built on pressure, family expectations, financial struggles, and circumstances that forced him into something fake. But even with that explanation, it doesn't undo the damage. The trust is already broken, and Kitty is forced to accept something she's never really had to deal with before, that just because there's a reason behind something doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. This is where her idea of love starts to shift. It's no longer something clean and predictable, it's messy, complicated, and sometimes unfair. Trying to move forward, Kitty begins adjusting to life at her new school. She meets new people, starts forming friendships, and slowly builds a life that isn't entirely centered around Dae. For the first time since arriving, she starts to feel like maybe things can still work out, just not in the way she originally planned. But then something unexpected starts happening. The more time she spends around Yuri, the more her perspective begins to change. At first, Yuri is just the girl who ruined everything, the reason her relationship fell apart, but as Kitty gets to know her, she starts to realize there's more to her than the image she shows everyone else. There's pressure, expectations, and a side of her that isn't as perfect as it seems. And slowly, something shifts. What started as tension turns into curiosity. Curiosity turns into understanding, and understanding turns into something she can't ignore. For the first time, Kitty starts feeling something that doesn't fit into the version of love she thought she understood. It's confusing, unexpected, and honestly overwhelming. Because now, it's not just about Dae anymore. It's about her, about what she feels, what it means, and who she actually is. And that realization changes everything. At the same time, Kitty starts becoming more focused on something deeper, her connection to her late mother. Being at the same school her mom once attended starts to bring up questions she's never had answers to. She begins looking into her mom's past, trying to understand who she really was beyond the memories she grew up with. And the more she learns, the more she realizes there were parts of her mom's life that were never fully explained. This journey becomes more than just curiosity, it becomes something personal. It becomes about identity, about understanding where she comes from, and how that shapes who she's becoming. As everything around her starts to build, the pressure becomes harder to ignore. Relationships get more complicated, emotions get stronger, and the balance she's trying to maintain starts to fall apart. By this point, Kitty is no longer the same person who arrived in Korea thinking she had everything figured out. She's confused, overwhelmed, and constantly questioning herself. But at the same time, she's growing. She's starting to understand that love isn't something you can control, that people don't always act the way you expect, and that sometimes the answers you're looking for don't come in a clear or simple way. Moving forward, Kitty returns with a completely different mindset. She's no longer chasing a perfect love story because she now understands that perfection doesn't exist. Instead, she's trying to figure herself out without relying on a relationship to define her. But even with that growth, things don't suddenly get easier. The same complicated relationships are still there, the same emotions, the same confusion. The difference now is that she has to face it instead of avoiding it. Her feelings for Dae haven't completely disappeared, but they don't feel the same anymore. At the same time, her connection with Yuri continues to grow, becoming more complex and harder to ignore. It's no longer about choosing between two people, it's about understanding what those feelings actually mean, and that's something she's still trying to figure out. Meanwhile, the people around her are dealing with their own struggles, friendships start to shift, tensions build, and everything becomes more unstable. At the same time, Kitty continues exploring her family's past. Each new discovery brings her closer to understanding her mother, but also makes her realize how much she still doesn't know. And through all of this, one thing becomes clear. Her journey in Korea was never just about love. It was about finding herself. As everything reaches its peak, emotions are higher than ever. Every decision matters, every choice has consequences, and Kitty is forced to face the truth she's been avoiding. There is no perfect version of love. There is no simple answer. What exists instead is something real, something messy, something unpredictable, and that's what makes it meaningful. Now, looking ahead, Kitty is no longer the same person who first stepped off that plane. She's grown, she's changed, and she's learned that love isn't something you can plan or control. It challenges you, it confuses you, and sometimes it forces you to completely rethink who you are. At this point, nothing is fully resolved. Relationships are still uncertain, feelings are still evolving, and Kitty is still trying to figure out what she truly wants. Whether it's Day, Yuri, or something completely different, one thing is clear: her story isn't over yet.